Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Muhammad Bara Buzo, and today we're going to dig into the expenses and how much we're gonna pay along our journey to become residents in the USA. Many students are afraid of being incapable of affording the costs of this long journey, but never consider money a big issue in your way, because eventually you will get back all the money you have spent. It only depends on time and patience. In each step, we will calculate its cost and add it to the next one, having a range between the maximum cost and the minimum cost. First, let's sort it out into 6 categories: study materials, exams, clinical rotation, research experience, apply for programs, and ways to reduce spending. Starting from the study materials, we will focus on the most popular materials used by students. The most important resource is UWorld Banks, which costs between $440 and $560 for each step, depending on the duration you need, starting from 3 months to 1 year. This price includes 1 or 2 self-assessments. You can activate it at the end of your study. The same thing here is in the Ambos library and the Q banks, which cost between $318 and $428. But the point here is that you can use the same subscription for both Step 1 and Step 2 CK. And to stay dedicated, some students would rather take a USMLE course. Some of these are online and can last up to a year or more, while others are offline, and the cost of these courses is around $300 to $500. For OET, there are a lot of free materials that are enough to pass the exam, but you can benefit from some courses, especially those on the OET website, with only $25 for each course. And at the end of your study, you need to evaluate yourself by self-assessments, and I highly recommend using MBME to get the simulation tests. There are about 5 self-assessments for each step, and each one costs $60. Going on to the exams, you have 3 ones to pass, but before, you have to get an ECFMG account, which costs $160. Step 1 cost is $1,195. Step 2 CK will cost $1,220. And OET will cost $455. In some countries, there are no exam centers to have your test in, so students have to pay an additional amount of money to cover travel costs. Going to the next subject, clinical rotations play a crucial role in preparing medical students for residency programs, helping them develop the skills and knowledge necessary for independent practice as physicians. And in general, it's divided into 2 parts: observership and elective. And in a later video, we will discuss the difference between those 2 types of rotations. But since we are talking about financial matters, the observership usually has fewer requirements and cheaper than elective, and it could be obtained for free in most cases. So, if you want to have 3-month rotation, you have to pay around $1,500 for a round flight, go and back. The fee of the rotation itself ranges between nothing to $5,000. For this trip, you need a visitor visa and you have to pay $185. And given that those rotations are not paid, you will need to fund yourself during your stay, and this can vary greatly based on the state you will be living in and how much you can reduce your expenses. Another thing you need is research experience. Regardless of the ways you should follow to get a research position, which we might talk about in another video, the cost of 1 year of research is divided between the flight cost, visa fee, student and exchange visitor program payment, which we call CIVIS, and of course the cost of living. The last step in our long journey is to apply for residency programs, and without digging into too many details, here is a quick overview of each separate step you need to take before beginning your ideal career as a resident in the USA. I know that you might be disappointed now and reconsider your future plans, but always there are many ways to reduce your total payments along this long journey, and each one of us will have his own individual conditions that differ from others. So, the first step is to depend on cheaper materials to study. You can share the same resource with your friends or study from the free medical content on the net. And one of the real pieces of advice that can help you a lot reduce spending is to do your rotation along with your research year. Sometimes it's difficult to have time for rotation, especially if you have a very busy schedule at work. But I have seen many students do their rotations in this way and eventually get the letters of recommendation they need. And instead of traveling and spend much money, you can do a tele-rotation, which can offer flexibility and the opportunity to engage with patients remotely, but of course it's still better for you to have your rotation physically in the USA. One thing that could save your money a lot is to find a paid research position, because while you are on a J1 visa, you are not legally permitted to work for anybody other than for your research job. To be honest, it's not easy to find a paid position, but still, there is a big chance of getting one if you put in the effort and seek for a while. The last tip is to find a cheap state to do your rotation and research year in. Sometimes you don't have free choice to choose the state, and your decision depends on the conditions, not on your desire. So here we can see together the wide range of costs you're going to pay, and obviously that will depend on conditions, luck, and the way you're dealing with circumstances. And always know that the only limit is the one you set for yourself. Break free from limitations, be patient with yourself, great things take time. That was all for today. Thank you for your watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to click on the bell to get all of the videos updates. See you next video.